Hello and welcome to this edition of Beyond the Politics, a regular examination of the events happening right here in the Quinte region and the people who work so hard behind the scenes to make it all happen. I'm your host, Paul Martin. Joining me, Prince Edward County Mayor Steve Ferguson.
Paul,
how are you?
I'm terrific. How are you?
Great.
It's great to be back.
So many great, the key word today is great. So many great things happening in Prince Edward County, and with everything that's going on in many local municipalities with regards to homelessness and some of the challenges that go along with it, with mental health and, of course, drug addiction, drug overdoses. We all would like to see more being done in that area. And Prince Edward County is not only getting things done, but is also taking the lead on some significant projects. So that's where I wanted to start for this edition. Let's talk about the Queen East School project. This is something that you, of course, applied for funding for, but were not successful. But it was so important, you wanted to go ahead with it anyway, and you're kind of in a key stage right now. So for people who aren't familiar with it, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I think as most people know that the school was surplus by the Hastings Prince Edward District School Board in 2018. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I had a meeting with the then Director of Education, said the school is vitally important to Prince Edward County, particularly our larger settlement area, which is Picton, of course. We really need it for community use. And that conversation took place in August of 2019. And since then, we have been, as a municipality and council and staff, have been talking to other elected officials and ministry staff and just anybody we can to try to secure this property because it is fully serviced and could perform all kinds of different things for the community, particularly affordable housing for those in need because of its central location and access to employment and transportation and some of the other amenities in town. So
now, and this is a big property too. Like when you say this is untapped potential, I mean, it's rare that any municipality would get, was it like 4.8 acres of land plus the building that's there that is already ready to be sort of converted. But of course you can't wait too long. Declared surplus in 2018, 6 years later, you can't wait too long before it's not a matter of remodel or refurbish, it's a matter of tear down and build up again.
Right, well it's 4.76 acres on the site. The building itself I think is just over 40,000 square feet. And it is in remarkably good shape. So the hope is that by the time we go through environmental assessments and other studies, the building can be reused for what we envision now as a community hub to provide, facilities for social service organizations and other services that the public need in Prince Edward County, particularly the Picton area.
Now, like you said, the servicing part's an important part too, because this used to be a very active, very busy school. Right. So when you were talking about, I think I saw in the one project estimate, maybe 100 affordable housing units, that wouldn't necessarily mean you had to add any servicing or infrastructure because the infrastructure was already there to serve a bustling school. So really, the capacity is already there, and that also makes it such an ideal site.
Right, that's exactly why, one of the reasons it's so important, because it is fully serviced. And extending that servicing into whatever number of units, whether it's 100 or 200, is relatively simple and straightforward compared to what it might be were it just vacant land.
Now, the application for federal funding was unsuccessful. That was, how much was that again, the application?
We applied for but over $14 million for in the Housing Accelerator Fund, and regrettably we were not successful. Our application really ticked all the best practices that were part of the application process. So it was pretty disappointing. It was very disappointing, but we're hopeful that the federal government will open another funding envelope at some point in the near future.
If I heard this correctly too, one of the reasons, and you thought this was unfair if I'm quoting properly, was that of the classification of the size of the municipality, because of course we think of Prince Edward County, we think of a fairly rural area, and when you compare it to the bigger cities, you think, well, obviously if there's a bigger city fund and a smaller community fund, Prince Edward County would be in the smaller community fund size.
Right.
But the dividing line was about 10,000?
It was 10,000.
So
Yep.
to be classified as a small community for the purpose of this, you have to be fewer than 10,000 residents.
Right, but what it meant was that our population of 25 competed against Toronto and Montreal and all the major cities throughout Canada. There was only, I think there was only one rural municipality and maybe two or three in Eastern Ontario that were successful in getting any kind of funding, and their populations were somewhat lower.
So is that fair? Like, what do you think the dividing line should be moved?
Well, we have made this point that there should be a stream for rural communities and there should be a stream for larger municipalities or cities.
Sure.
And we're going to continue to press the federal government to open that envelope to rural communities.
Now, at a recent committee of the whole meeting, Prince Edward County voted to spend $1.3 million,
Right.
which is a vastly reduced cost. Now, this is something that's discussed with the school board. So in that way, it's somewhat arbitrary. I mean, they could choose to charge whatever it is. But $1.3 million is still a lot less for a property of that size than its market value.
Well, there's the concern, and this is why how could we not buy it at that price point? If council had not voted to purchase it, the school board could put it on the market and for market value. Lord knows what it could
Millions.
get for 4.76.
Millions.
And what would be developed on the site? Likely not type of housing and the social services that so many members of our population need.
To try to bring more doctors in and reduce the people who don't have a family physician in Prince Edward County.
Well, we are in the same situation I think every municipality throughout the country is. And we just to give you a quick Coles Notes version of this, we have developed a doctor recruitment incentive to attract, at this point we need 7. We've been successful in attracting 5, but there are going to be additional retirements coming forward in the next year or two. So our program is an allocation of $100,000 in exchange for 5 years of service. And as I say, we have 5 reasonably young people who have moved into the community. They have invested in a home, so they're here to stay. And they've opened or taken over an existing practice. And they've also become part of the community, and that's very important for people to remember that within the context of a rural community like Prince Edward County, getting involved in the community is, somewhat daunting for someone that's moving from somewhere else. One doctor in particular moved here from Newfoundland, and was debating whether she should open her practice in Prince Edward County or in Nova Scotia. And I had the opportunity to meet her and say, look, Newfoundland's an island, Prince Edward County's an island. The water's different, the fish are different, but it's an island community. She has moved in with her partner and invested and has opened her practice, as have a number of others. So we've been successful and are very thankful that these members of the medical community have moved into our community. And the family health team, of which they are part, has made available through our doctors a couple of clinics, one in Picton and one in Wellington, and operates on a once a week in each community, and they're seeing any patient that doesn't, at this point, is on a waiting list who has medical needs, whether they're prescription renewals or whatever, and this to avoid them going into our emergency unit.
The hospital.
Yeah, exactly. So, and they've also, we've provided an incentive for our doctors to take patients off the waiting list and roster them to enable those patients to now have a doctor. So that's an innovative program that they developed. The family health team has developed. That's now turned out to be very successful. We have 4 doctors participating, and more to come.
Well, you're making that point again, of course. What does that conversation sound like now, when that's been really an ongoing concern for quite some time?
Well, it has been an ongoing concern since the roadway was handed down to the municipality by the provincial government in the late 1990s. And it was in okay shape then, but successive mayors, including Leo Finnegan and Peter Mertens and Robert Quaife and now me, as well as successive councils, have pressed provincial governments, 2 of them, to make a commitment to refurbish the road. Now, at this point, we estimate the cost to rebuild County 49 to be $30 million.
Wow.
And
because we're not talking about one section. We're not talking about one section. We're not talking about 1 kilometer.
Well, we can talk about one section, say from Fish Lake Road down to the Skyway Bridge. That's a $9 million investment. But the whole thing needs to be done. We have undertaken all the studies. We have done everything we need to do to be shovel ready, but we have been, I won't say we've been unsuccessful. I will say that funding envelopes have not been available by upper levels of government to enable us to apply.
Now, you mentioned earlier the classification that happened in the late 90s, where Highway 62 is still a highway, which means that's the province's responsibility.
Right, it's beautiful.
Oh, there you go. County Road 49 is a county road, and therefore the county has to take care of it.
But it was Highway 49.
There you go.
Yeah, and if it was still Highway 49, it might still be beautiful. But we, we've had meetings with ministers, we've had meetings with ministry staff, we've had meetings with local businesses. We've done as much as we possibly can to highlight the need for this road to be refurbished. It is the eastern gateway into Prince Edward County, 6,000 cars a day, vehicular traffic in the form of not just passenger cars, but also trucks going to eastern Canada or coming into the county. We have the cement plant, we've got Picton terminals. The traffic is increasing. The popularity of Prince Edward County is increasing, which means the traffic's going to increase. So we're in desperate need of funding to get this thing done. And next week, well, we're going to continue to undertake all kinds of meetings and lobbying and whatever needs to be done to get the attention of those who can help us, be it the province or the feds. And good roads next week. County Road 49 will certainly be a topic of conversation. We continue to be in the top 10 of the CAA's worst roads in the province, but something happened because we improved. We fell from number 1 to number 4. But it's absolutely a priority, and it's frustrating to be in a position where we know, the province knows, the federal government knows, because they all traveled that road. They know how bad it is.
Or maybe they don't, just for that reason.
Well, a month or so ago, Minister Sarkaria was here, the Minister of Transportation, and Todd Smith, our MPP, made a point, as he did with Carolyn Mulrooney, the former Minister of Transportation, to ensure that she had drive along County Road 49 from Shire Hall in the middle of Picton straight up to the 401 onto Belleville. So they know. And the other frustrating thing is we as a municipality are putting about $200,000 into repair work a year County Road 49. We have a dedicated crew that does nothing but patch that road.
Now, well, thanks to them and thanks to everyone else who makes Prince Edward County the great place we know it is. This has been Beyond the Politics.